Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on my experience as a healthcare assistant. At the end I'm also going to talk through why it gave me some really good skills in preparation for my assistant psychologist application. So let's get into it. So a healthcare assistant is someone who works under the guidance of a healthcare professional such as a nurse or a doctor, and your job is to assist them in any of the patient care that they need support with. You will be doing things like helping with personal care, so washing and dressing the individual. You might have to help support with meal times. You might even help make their beds. You might help them with their medication. Your job is to help them to live as independently as they can. Within this role you can work in hospitals, care homes, private settings, various different places, but they're all the same in the way that you are there to help the individual be as independent as they possibly can. Some individuals aren't able to be that independent, but you're there to help with the aspects of their life that they can't do by themselves. I'm going to talk a little bit about the experience that I've had as a healthcare assistant. So I worked as a healthcare assistant in a dementia specialist care home. This care home was partly funded by the NHS and partly funded privately. At the care home that I worked at, the shifts were split into 3 different groups. So you could be doing a whole day, which would be from 8 AM to 8 PM, yes, 12 hours, you heard correctly. And then you could also be on an early, which was an 8 AM till 2 PM shift, or you could be on a late, which was a 2 PM till 8 PM shift. So those were the kinds of shifts that they provided. I personally did a lot of long days just because I preferred to do less shifts rather than more shorter shifts, if you know what I mean. And the reason why shifts are so long is to reduce the staff turnover, which has been shown to help with patient well-being, and it is just nicer to see the same faces around, especially for people who have dementia. I think the easiest thing for me to do is to talk you through what a typical day looked like for me there. So in the morning we would go around and wake everyone up. We would offer them hot drinks and just kind of get them ready for breakfast coming round. So a lot of our residents had swallowing difficulties because of the dementia and also because of other health conditions. We had to make sure that they were awake and ready for breakfast, because if they're tired they might not be able to swallow as well, and that could lead to choking and could be very dangerous to them. After that we would then go round and offer them hot drinks and breakfast and give them options for what was available. Breakfast was always the best time at my care home. They always had such a good selection of food. I'm talking full English breakfast, cereals, toast, jams, the lot. They even had pastries, I think, yeah. And then after breakfast we would get everyone washed and dressed. Now if they didn't want to get up, if they didn't want to get changed, if they didn't want to have their breakfast at that time, we wouldn't make them, but this is kind of the schedule that we ran with. And then if anyone else wanted to do something different, we would obviously change the routine around for them. That's all part of person-centered care, which is a big part of working as a healthcare assistant, which I'll get into later. So once everyone is washed and dressed, now that could mean giving them a strip wash, or it could mean getting them into the shower or a bath, whatever they wanted. In the time between breakfast and lunch, we would normally have the residents either out in the garden or in the TV room, just relaxing, doing whatever they want. Sometimes there would be different activities that would normally happen in between that period. And then it would be lunchtime, so lunchtime we would get everyone into the dining room again and get them ready for lunch. And during meal times I also supported with helping the residents to eat. Like I said, these were late stage dementia residents, so most of them needed quite a lot of support, so we would do hand over hand and help them feed themselves, and in some cases they weren't able to do that, so we did essentially have to feed them ourselves. It is such a privilege to be part of someone's life in that way, and it is, yeah, it's a really eye-opening experience. Also, I think people don't talk about this enough. Like, as a healthcare assistant you do have to help people with going to the toilet and also changing their pads. When it says personal care, they really are expecting you to do all aspects of personal care. In the care home that I worked at, we did have an activity coordinator who provided activities like bingo, choir, gardening, things like that, but we also had a cupboard filled with puzzles, cards, craft items that we could do with the residents ourselves. We even had a nail set to help paint people's nails, which the ladies loved. Part of my job was to provide activities and entertainment for the residents and also just have conversations with them. Sometimes they just wanted a cup of tea. And then it would bring us to dinner time, and that would be the same as breakfast and lunch, just to help with everyone and make sure that they're eating okay. Then it would be time to get the residents ready for bed if they wanted to, and assist them back into their rooms if they wanted to. Another thing to mention is that as a healthcare assistant you are required to write notes on the residents and keep up to date with the charts. So a lot of them will be on food and fluid charts as to track how much they're eating and drinking in a day. So in this role I got paid $7.50 an hour. That's actually less than what I got paid at Topshop. So that says something about our society, but we won't get into it now. The pay does vary depending on where you work, whether it's in a hospital, a care home, and it also depends on the client group that you're working with. I'm going to run through the unique skills that I gained from this role that helped me to get my assistant psychologist position. By unique skills, I mean the ones that aren't so obvious or the ones that you can't get from every other job. Working as a healthcare assistant improved my ability to provide person-centered care. It really ingrained in me the importance of it and how to do that. It was also the first time I had ever managed behaviour that challenges. With people who have late stage dementia, they can get quite aggressive. It did teach me to work under pressure because there are a lot of residents for the amount of healthcare assistants that there were, so you were always busy, you're always running about. I'm not saying that's the best environment to be working in, and I'm not saying it's the best way that care should be given, but that is just a reality of working as a healthcare assistant. It really improved my knowledge on late stage dementia and what that can look like and mean for the individual. Obviously I work in a dementia service now, so that came in handy. It also showed me how beneficial an MDT can be. So in our care home, residents were seen by speech and language therapists, activity coordinators, nurses, the whole lot. You could really see how that benefited in their lives. I don't know how we would have supported them in the way that we could without all of the different disciplines coming in. Working as a healthcare assistant also improved the way that I communicate, not only with my colleagues but also with the residents. Because it was a dementia specialist care home, quite a few of the residents had difficulty in communicating, so I really had to learn how to communicate using gestures, pictures, and I really learned how to be flexible in the way that I communicate. And finally, but probably the most important skill that I learned, was how to be compassionate in a care setting. Now everyone can be compassionate to people that you know, and people in your personal life, but it is very different being compassionate to people that you are supporting in a care setting and a more professional setting. By working as a healthcare assistant, I really learn how to do that. This skill is particularly important for being an assistant psychologist because the NHS values really urge you to be compassionate, and so being able to practice that in a care setting is very important. Now that we've gone through the different skills that you can get from being a healthcare assistant, I'm going to give you some of my tips for Hca interviews. A lot of the questions will focus on person-centered care, and a lot of them will be knowledge-based questions. So they'll ask things like, what is dementia? Why is person-centered care important? Those sort of questions, rather than the reflective ones that you would get asked in assistant psychologist interviews. So there's a bit of a difference there. They will also ask questions about safeguarding. The main thing is that you are able to identify a safeguarding concern. I also remember them asking me in my interview a scenario question where it was like, if you went into a resident's room and you saw that they had a red mark on them, what would you do? My first thought would be, oh, I'd have to speak to my supervisor and see whether we need to raise a safeguarding concern because it could be a sign of abuse. But then the person on the panel corrected me and said that, well, while that is correct, that we should be querying that, it is also indicative of a pressure sore. So yeah, that's what I can remember from my interviews. Honestly, it was such a long time ago, I can't remember, but there is a lot of information out there for HCA jobs because they are quite common. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I found my job on Indeed, but you can find them on like NHS Jobs, Guardian Jobs, Reed, all of the job sites pretty much. So there are quite a few HCA jobs out there. It is quite a difficult job and it's not well paid, so I think that's why there's so many vacancies, but it is a very rewarding job. I enjoyed it so much. I loved going in and seeing all of the residents. I really got to know all of them, and I even think about them now to this day. Like, you just make such good connections with them. It's amazing. Please like this video if you liked it, guys, and subscribe for more content like this. I make videos every single week. I'm going to be making more AP videos, more vlogs. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.